So yes, I will talk to you today about the first results of my postdoc in Leicester. And so just for those who don't really know what are ostracods, ostracods are divided in two main groups, the podocarps and the myodocarps. The podocarps here is the most diverse group of ostracods. They are exclusively benthic animals. They are very diverse. They are present in any kind of environment, any kind of aquatic environment, from deep sea to lake in the Himalayas. The second group, a little more active, as you can see it swimming, are the myodocarps. The myodocarps are exclusively marine. They are kind of less diverse than the podocarps, but they have much different lifestyle. For example, they are the one who colonize the water column. So recent pelagic ostracods are pretty important in the plankton nowadays. They're also divided into main groups. The most diverse is the group of allocyprids with several hundreds of species, and they live dominantly in the upper layer of the water column. And the second group, the cypridinids, are much bigger. This one, Gigantocypris, is up to 3 centimeters, so this is not the ostracod as we imagine them. This is a really huge animal, and they live predominantly in the lower level of the water column. So over the years, thanks to David Siveter mainly, we realized that during the Silurian, and especially during the late Silurian, there is a very particular fauna of ostracods. So we have several species, so 2 are known in the Ordovician now. There is few species in the land of Ree. There is a new fauna from Australia in the early Wenlock. Then there is the amazing Herefordshire fauna with soft parts that you will see a lot about later on. And then there is this huge amount of species here that are present in many regions of the world, mostly in black shales, and they are supposed to be the first pelagic ostracods. So why do we think that they are pelagic? This comes from a line of evidence, 4 lines of evidence, in fact, come from the functional morphology, the interpretation of the shell of this ostracod in terms of function. So, for example, there is a rostrum. The rostrum is the place where the swimming antenna is, so this species was probably a swimmer. It also comes from the depositional setting. We find them mostly in shales and silts. From the associated fauna, they are mostly associated with pelagic animals like graptolites, like chitinozoan, like cephalopods. We have here 2 ostracod species. And the last point, and not the least, is the distribution that many of these species are really cosmopolitan during the Silurian, like richer migrants who is found all around the Paleozoic Ocean. But the question that I'm trying to answer now is how, when, and why did the ostracod move in the water column? So the how is not very difficult. They moved there because they were pre-adaptated to. They had everything to go and live in the water column. They had vision, they had locomotion, feeding, reproduction, respiration. And thanks to the very nice Herefordshire material, I will go a little more in detail about that. So locomotion, recent myodocarps have a rostrum where the swimming antenna protrude. You can see here a pelagic species with the 2 swimming antennae. And they basically swim like that in the water column. So they make diurnal movement in the water column from the lower part to the upper part for feeding. And we know, thanks to the Herefordshire material, that this rostrum is already present in the Silurian, and the swimming antenna here in purple protrude under it. And even when there is no rostrum, the swimming antennae are still able to protrude just because there is a gap in the front part of the carapace. But having the rostrum and the antenna is not enough for making a nice swimmer. What you need is a huge muscle to move this antenna. So you can see here a nekto species with the swimming antenna that looks like feathers, so it has some more pressure on the water. Here is a pelagic one, and you can see this muscle is huge. It's almost half of the body weight of the animal. And this muscle is already present in the Herefordshire fauna. All the species have this huge protopod. And if we make a close-up on this antenna, it also has this kind of feather-like cities that you can see there. So very similar antenna to the recent one. But to sustain this active swimming, you also need oxygen. And recent ostracod have gills. You can see here the gills of a recent myodocarp. And these gills are also present in the Silurian of Herefordshire, here in blue and here in blue and green. And to ventilate the inside of a carapace, you need also a large epipodite, like this one. So the oxygen, the water can be renewed inside the shell. And this epipodite is also present in Herefordshire. Also very important is the eyes. So recent myodocops, many recent myodocops have lateral eyes. You can see it here through the translucent carapace. The deep sea pelagic cyprinids also have huge lateral eye. It's this red bar here in the animal. And again, Herefordshire fossil have very nice lateral eyes, stalk lateral eyes. You can see one here. And many recent pelagic species, the yellow cyprids, in fact, don't have eyes, and they have another organ that they use. It's called the Bellonchi organ. Many crustaceans have it, and the Bellonchi organ is also present in Herefordshire. Another very important point is the reproduction. Recent podocops, they lay their eggs, so the benthic ostracods, they lay their eggs on algae on the floor, and the eggs stay there until they hatch. But myodocops have a different strategy. They have a place in the back of the carapace called the domicilium, where they keep their eggs until the baby come out, and the baby is already able to swim and is able to eat and is active like the mother is. And we know, thanks to Nymphathelina in Herefordshire, that this strategy is also present in the Silurian, where we have a cluster of eggs present in the back part of the carapace, just like the recent species, and there is even some juveniles that are almost ready to get out of it. And, well, they have to use their eyes for something. So many recent ostracods are bioluminescent. They use this bioluminescence both for mating and for escaping predators. For example, if a fish tries to go and catch them, they just release a blue flash of light, and the fish will be blind for a second, and then the ostracod can sneak around. And so these recent nectobenthic species have an organ situated on the labrum, so which is just above the mouth. Here we have Colonisation with a dorsal view. This is the two lateral eyes and the Bellonchi organ. And it seems that there is some gland, there is some similar organs also present in this Herefordshire fauna. The other group of pelagic ostracods have generally these organs on the carapace. You can see here a bioluminescent pore. And we have also some very similar arrangement of pores in some Silurian species. So maybe some of the Silurian species were already bioluminescent. And last but not least is the feeding. Many, well, in fact, all the pelagic ostracods, they are micropredators or detritus feeders. And for that, they need the appendages to be able to catch their prey and eat them. So you can see here recent myodocops that was studied by Jean Vanier, and you can see the furca is helping. There is all kind of different mandible, maxilla, and maxill. And all these appendages are present in the Silurian. You can see a frontal view of all these feeding appendages. And there is even the endites that helps the animal to green the food. Okay, so that's enough for the how. Now is the question of the when. So here we have a phylogenetic tree made by Todd Oakley. And so this is very general tree. And you can see in red, the small red stars are the fossil with soft parts. So here is the podocops. The podocops are the benthic animals, so I will not speak about them. And here are the three main families of myodocops. And in yellow at the top, we have the recent pelagic species. So a lot of allocyprids and few cypridinids. If I put the fossil record without soft parts now, you can see that the allocyprids, the main group of pelagic ostracod in the recent ocean, have absolutely no fossil record. There is no record of these animals whenever. And there are many groups. Some of them are related to recent species based on the carapace, so it's not very strong. But in the Silurian, we have three different groups, bulbozoids, entomozoids, and some cypridinids that have this global distribution and are thought to be pelagic. So something is happening in the Silurian for at least these three groups. But this means that another event, as these two groups already splitted by the Ordovician, another event is occurring for the allocyprids. When exactly we don't know, as there is absolutely no fossil records. But I will have a little close-up in the Silurian now. So again, the two recent pelagic groups, the allocyprids and the cypridinids. Here is the fossil record of cypridinids that are supposed not to be pelagic. They wrote also in the Ordovician. And if I put the three groups supposed to be pelagic in the Silurian, we have here entomozoids, bulbozoids, cypridinids. So by the Landovery, the species have generally not very wide distribution, and they are associated with benthic species, and they are very mostly found in limestones. In the Homerian also, we have these three species from Australia, and again, they are associated with trilobite, crinoids, corals, so mostly not pelagic one. And then at the Homerian, during the Homerian, the late Homerian or the early Ludlow, something is happening for these ostracods. Because Richter migrans is the one that I showed you earlier. It has completely global distribution. Bulbozoa bohemica also have very wide distribution. So something is happening at that time. And something is definitely happening at another time for the allocyprids. So a little close-up again in the Homerian. So during the Homerian, there is the Mulde event, also called the Big Crisis. So this is from a paper of Brad Kramer in 2012. And there is a huge extinction at the end of the Lugrenny zone. Many species of graptolite die at this time. But strangely, the ostracods, the benthic ostracods, are absolutely not affected by this crisis. They just go through it as if it was nothing for them. And the interesting thing is that before this Homerian crisis, we have nectobenthic myodocops, and after that we have the first pelagic fauna. So maybe one of the drivers, one of the why question is it because at some point we have more space, many plankton died, and so there is new ecospace available in the water column. So this is one of the hypotheses that we're testing now in a very nice section in the Long Mountain. And last possible driver is the oxygen. Most of these myodocop ostracod in the Silurian, they are found in black shales, which are supposed to have very disoxic, even anoxic bottom. And maybe the fact that there was not enough oxygen pushed them out of the bottom just to go in the water column to have an oxygenated environment. Oops, sorry. I went way too fast. Oop. Okay, the second point is there too much oxygen for ostracods? In fact, the Mulde event, exactly the NASA zone, is characterized by a bloom of benthic species, very intense burrowing and oxygenated bottom. And many recent myodocopid ostracod don't really like oxygen. They are very active during the night, they swim, they feed, and then during the day, they will go back to the bottom and they will build a small nest with mucus and small pieces of algae, and they will stay inside that nest for all day, where they will rebreathe their own oxygen to lower, rebreathe their own water to lower the oxygen content. So maybe we have also to think about the too much oxygen for them. Yes, that's the conclusion slides. So ostracods in the Silurian, they were pre-adapted for the life in the water column. In the Silurian, for sure. And maybe now, thanks to David's new paper that is coming out next year, he describes some very nice myodocop ostracods with soft parts that are definitely myodocops in the beacher trilobite bed. So probably in the Ordovician, they already had this pre-adaptation. It seems that also we have at least 2 colonization events for the ostracod, one for the allocyprid, one for the cypridinids. So one is occurring during the Silurian. The other one, for the moment, we have no clue when it is happening. And then the last thing, is there a link with this Mulde event, and is the oxygen really a driver for this ecological shift from the benthic to the pelagic? Thank you.